Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Hey. Hope everybody's doing good. Karl Bryan coming at you. I am here, sans Road Dog. My boy Road Dog, I think he broke his wrist playing soccer. So he's in getting x-rays, the poor bugger, and can't make it today. So you're stuck with me. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. He sent me in a few ideas. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, if you follow me on my personal Facebook page there, I do some random thoughts every once in a while. And I also drop those into emails and blog posts once in a while. So I'm going to do some random thoughts to inspire your inner baller. How's that sound? Random thoughts to inspire your inner baller. And I sent that to Road Dog and he liked it. He thought that was cool. So there you go. That's what we're going to do. What am I going to talk about? I'll tell you what. So I'm having a drink with my bud. He's a big, I live in the Caribbean here, and he's a bit of a big deal. He owns some very, very large hotels and very, very large yachts. And he just got an honorary doctorate at the university that he went to. Anyway, it's a bit of a big deal. And so he owns, again, the guy's worth like real dough, like 100 million on a bad day. Anyway, does that matter? Not necessarily, but the guy thinks at a slightly higher level. I was sitting there talking to him about, like his hotels. And again, when I talk hotels, I am talking like beachfront, really impressive. And the penny dropped, or what I found, it was just like the guy's got a higher level of thinking, right? So like the greatest hack is not a strategy. The greatest hack is not a tactic. Most certainly the greatest hack is not working out Facebook ads. The greatest hack is a way of thinking. You know what I mean? Like, just some people are thinking in thousands. Some people are thinking in hundreds of thousands. Some people are thinking in millions. Some are thinking in tens of millions, hundreds of millions. And some people like Elon Musk are thinking in like multiple billions. And then not just in multiple billions, but parlay that into solving monstrous problems, right? So he's talking about a specific island that he feels has got a lot of opportunity. And just other people are not thinking, they're thinking about like the island we live on, and then he's thinking about an island where there's nobody, and he's thinking it. And by the way, he understands that it's probably going to take at least 5 and potentially 10 years to pop. But he also knows that 10 years it pops, and he wants to be Johnny on the spot. So the nuts and bolts of it was that he's just thinking at a higher level. Like, we do some hockey here. And like, so he used to, help run the league and be like a major sponsor. And he used to go, if you've ever seen the Stanley Cup presented, you'll see like it traveled. There's a specific guy who's literally his full-time job, 365 days a year, is to look after the Stanley Cup, which is debatably the most celebrated trophy in all of sports, the Stanley Cup. It's very cool. It's huge. But anyway, so when it's presented, is the guy is wearing white gloves, like he's polishing it on the side of the rink, and he's presenting it in white gloves. Well, I want you to guess, when he was running the hockey league here, guess how he presented the trophy to the kids that won. Your instincts are correct. He's wearing white gloves. And again, it was just another example of where, we're kind of, I don't know, the guy thinks at a higher level. The end, and that might be something there. Like, you're trying to fill an event with 10 people at the local chamber of commerce. Maybe the problem is not that you can't get 10 people to the chamber, it's that you're thinking in the equivalent of thousands when Elon Musk is thinking in billions and solving massive problems. So instead of trying to put 10 people there, maybe you want to be trying to aim to put 100 people there over 10 events. Right? But by the way, why do I say that? If you put 100 people in a room and you are a coach without any a bunch of staff, you're going to drop the ball. And I would prefer you to have less attendees and excellent follow up than lots of attendees and horrible follow up. You're just lighting leads on fire. And if you know anything about business, you know that the most difficult and the most expensive function of any business is generating a new client. So you should be very, very careful with that. But that being said, just thinking the greatest hack, it's not this tactical thing. It's not this strategy thing. It's certainly not advertising on Facebook or working out a really great personal message on LinkedIn. It's a way of thinking. It's a higher level of thinking. So my question, as I throw it to you, I want you to think at a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to rank your level of thinking. And then, by the way, if I were to acid test that, show me how many people do you have on the payroll getting paid per month, whether they make a sale or not. If they're commission salespeople, right, or salespeople, they're 100% on commission. It doesn't count. How many people do you have on the payroll? The second part of that acid test is, are they smarter than you? Because everybody knows that you should hire people smarter than you, but very, very, very few people do it. And have you done it? You've hired somebody, and how many people do you have hired that you could genuinely say are smarter than you? The good fortune that I have is that it's really easy for me to hire people much smarter than I, due to my low IQ. Anyways, so just, it's a higher level of thing. It's even like when I go to the local bar or I go to the local restaurant and I leave a tip, I'm generally I'm not leaving a tip based on them. Frankly, I'm not leaving my tip based on the level of service. I leave a tip based on who I am. And I really, really hope that does not sound pompous. It is not described, meant to do so. It's just that's what I do. And when I go to the local bar, I'm just, you could imagine that if I'm leaving big tips, and when I say big tips, I'm not leaving thousands. I'm not even leaving hundreds in most cases. But I can tell you, I'm not leaving 15, 20%. It's not what I'm doing, right? And I think that there might be a little bit of magic in that. Even, when you go to the local bar, you go to the local restaurant, you go, get dinner with some friends, do you grab the tab? You know what I mean? And it's not about, hey, for me, I don't know. And by the way, again, it's not that I got it all worked out by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm not grabbing the tab because you grabbed the tab last time, right? I'm grabbing the tab because the guy brings over the bill and I'm just willing to pay it. Again, it comes, I'm not worried, the bill is $100. Do you know what I mean? That is not life threatening to me. And it's just who I am. I would encourage you. I want you to think of different people that have you gone out for beers and you've gone out for drinks within the past. And I want you to think of the people that grabbed the bill with semi-consistency. And then I want you to look at the business they have, the wages that they earn, the way that they do, the way that they live their life. And I think that you might find that those that are grabbing the bill are possibly playing life at a slightly higher level. Slightly, maybe not, by the way. You got your environment and you've got your network, but I'm going to suggest that acid test, I would end up being correct. So, working on, it's like you're working on your business. Are you working on your business or are you working in your business? We've all heard of that, right? The E-Myth, which, by the way, the E-Myth's a great book. Challenge I have with it, Michael Gerber has never actually built a real business, right? He's talking about going away for 6 months and then coming back to a bigger company. And I'm going to suggest that that's not happening for you. That's not happening for me. That's not happening for your client. It's just not happening. But anyway, so work in your business, work on your business. But what's way more important than that, and that's working on you, who you are. Anyway, so something to think about there. You want to have a great company. No doubt you do. I do. Your clients do. Do you know the hack to doing that? Have great clients. And now the problem is, as I say that, here's my challenge. Define a great client for yourself, and then define a great client for your client, the chiropractor, the dentist, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. What's an example of a great client? Or is it highly detailed? to the point where the level of education that they have, the number of kids that they've got, the suburb that they live in, the car that they drive, is it really, really tightened up? And I'm going to suggest that it's not, because it very seldom is. And I think that might allow you um, to operate at a higher level. But again, you want to have a great company, you got to have great clients. Uh, like as a coach, I got to tell you again, running around and trying to find broke people that are scrambling is just a really bad way. And it may be where you're at. You're in the sandbox and just getting going, and that's fine. Everybody's got to, we all started the sandbox, and then we come out. But let me tell you, as you get going and you get clients and you get a little bit better at this and you get some runs on the board, you want to be taking successful people and making them mega successful. You don't want to find failing people and trying to pull them up. Like, you know what I mean? You don't go swimming with drowning people. That's not an ideal business. So thinking about that, but great client, but can you define a great client? I'm going to suggest that will be a good use of your time. Here's something else that I wrote down. Okay, I've said this, and on my personal profile, I've had a few people throw this quote out there, and then you know what I mean, tag me or whatever it is on Facebook, and it's that, what is it? Your greatest enemy is not fear. Your greatest enemy is not failure. Your greatest enemy is failing in front of others, right? And I believe that to be true, right? For you here, and the note that I wrote down is that your greatest enemy is not failure, it's comfort. And I want you to think about that, right? Comfort. When you say to me, I will not cold call, I'm going to suggest that comes from somebody who is desperately clinging to comfort, not willing to get outside their comfort zone. And some very smart people, much smarter than I, will tell you that all of your goals, all of your dreams, all of your accomplishments, what you define as success, lives in your most uncomfortable moments, or in a very uncomfortable place from where you're at. Remember, you got to shave in order to start your new life, in order to get your new life. You've got to turn your back on your existing life, right? Think about that, what that might mean. You've got to give something up to get something, right? It's a yin and yang. It's a principle. It's not my principle. It's not my opinion. It's not, Harvard's opinion. It's a fact of life. It's a universal principle, right? So I'm gonna suggest that comfort. You're thinking that fear might be your enemy and what you're challenged with, and in actuality, it's comfort. So do what you will with that bit of advice. Here's something else that I wrote down, and so I've got this file on my phone, and when I get an idea, basically I go to this file and then I just go ping, 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 ping. I should really take this stuff and put it on Twitter, by the way, is something I've been thinking about. But it's for me. But then debatably, whatever, it could be some good stuff. Here's what I wrote. A real founder keeps the company dialed in on product and not dialed in on company. Now, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but I think that you will find most companies, and I'm going to some convert, what I mean, like internally with our company and where we're going with focus.com, and just a lot of what we've been doing over the last 12 months, 24 months, where you'll struggle to find a company in our world, in our space, I believe, that is more dialed in on product. Like, we are obsessed with product. We just integrated artificial intelligence. We just launched a new program called Flash Coaching, 12 months in the making and behind the scenes. And you can imagine a lot of very, very, very poorly paid or completely unpaid work going on. And so we are really dialed in. I'd like to think we're really dialed in on product. But I can tell you that it is really easy to fall in the trap of decentralizing your company, which, if you don't understand that, that's a very important concept. But really, who's got the right titles and who's responsible for what? Where's the SOP and the meetings, bloody meetings? And now what I find, or what I have written down, a note to myself that has been very, very powerful, is a real founder has everybody dialed in on product, not going around and around in meetings on company. Although you have to have some structure, you've got to have some systems. That's a 101. But if it starts, think 80-20, if it starts becoming 80% company and 20% product, you're in all kinds of trouble. What Steve Jobs would say, if you want to have a great company, what do you got to have? Can you answer that for me? Great products. You want a great company, you got to have great products. Just think of Steve Jobs and what he was about. If you ever watched any of his movies, you'll know that he was completely obsessed to a fault, and that's why he got fired back in the day, because the Macintosh was he's just too anal, too attention out. I mean, too attention to detail and just on everything, micromanaging everybody, losing his mind, being too emotional, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the darn thing just never got out, and it just cost way too much, and it was too expensive, and it was not the success that it could have been, and he ended up getting fired over it. So he, to a fault, but he's just product, 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 product. The iPhone, the iPod before that. Don't need to explain. You guys know Apple. No, you should. No doubt you do. Another thing that I would say, a growth loop, which becomes part of the product. You want to know how Facebook grew, Instagram grew, Uber grew, Chat GPT is doing it right now. It's basically a growth loop. So think like referrals on steroids, but you want to understand growth loop, and growth loop effectively becomes part of the product. That is, again, Facebook, Instagram, Uber, Airbnb, Hotmail back in the day, Chat GPT, et cetera. That's how those companies grow. And what Seth Godin would tell you is you got to build something remarkable. I believe that might be the title of one of his books, may or may not. But at the end of the day, Seth Godin, a very impressive fella, he will talk about being remarkable. And by the way, remarkable, if you define it, okay, it's one thing. Like when I say remarkable, you're thinking, oh, wow, something really cool. You think, a Ferrari driving by maybe, or something that's really incredible, like the first time you saw your iPhone. But Seth Godin will define it as something that people remark about. Okay, so then what happens is you end up with word of mouth on steroids, and everybody's talking about what you've got. iPhone, 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 Airbnb, 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 TikTok, 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 YouTube, 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 YouTube Reels, you know what I mean, or shorts or whatever. So that's what so it's remarkable, which is obvious. It's got to be credible, but are people remarking about it? And then he would suggest that would be success. And by the way, if every client sent you 2 referrals, what would happen? And the answer is you'd triple your business. So when was the last time you got 2 referrals from one client? When was the last time your client got 2 referrals from one client? When was the last time they tried? When was the last time they monitored, like tracked, like measured how many referrals they got from any one client? I'm going to suggest that chances are probably never, and that would be a mistake. So again, if you helped your client not do Facebook ads, not hire 10 people, not hire a new salesperson, go to their clients and get 2 referrals per person or 2 per client, you triple their company, right? It'd be 3 times the size. So there's something to think about. And by the way, I believe that Microsoft, who own, so Microsoft own OpenAI, ChatGPT, right? It's basically Microsoft. I think that they're going to release a phone that's going to be based on AI. That's what my little spidey senses tell me, or actually it's not spidey senses. It's people much smarter than I in the know, and this is what they are saying. And anyway, so I just think that is what's going to happen, and look out. That would be pretty mean. Artificial intelligence is not going anywhere. You probably know that we did a 7-hour masterclass on it last week, date stamping this, but anyways, it's it was good, and we integrated artificial intelligence into our software, and then we released it at the end of the day, and at the end of the 7-hour masterclass, it was really well received. We also launched Flash Coaching, which is a new product that we have. Speaking of which, my next note is product over service, right? You're not going to find many billion-dollar companies that do service, okay? They do product. What we have tried to do, what I have tried to do over the last close to 2 decades, is to productize coaching. I was a very successful business coach, and I did all kinds of numbers. I managed to generate leads, get the clients. It came very naturally to me. the delivering of the coaching was always by a million miles. My problem was never getting the client. It was having a log jam because I was working with so many people, keeping up, and then trying to keep all my trying to keep all the balls in the air. So what did I do? Profit acceleration software, digital acceleration software, flash coaching, our onboarding portal, and again, our onboarding process, which we've actually built custom software for our onboarding process. At the end of the day, that is all product, 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 which there is absolutely a service component to it. Like we've got 9 role play specialists, 2 onboarding specialists, by the way, plus some lead generation coaches. But at the end of the day, we've got lots of people that go through level 1, level 2, level 3. And there's a service component to profit acceleration software, because if you can't use it and you can't get the clients, you can't use it to close clients, it's not going to be very good for you, right? What am I getting at? What's the message? Product over service. When you're working with your client, you want to make sure, not make sure, but I would want, if I had a contingency deal with a client, I would be working with them if they were a service-based company towards, having a product. And by the way, think the way I've explained this in the past is think hard with soft. So if you buy a computer, equivalent of do you want fries with that? What is the equivalent of do you want fries with that? And the answer is do you want an extended warranty with that, right? So that's an example of hard with soft, right? So if I was selling, let's say I was selling purebred, I was selling purebred dogs, and then I would definitely sell dog. I wouldn't just sell the dogs; I would sell dog food. And if you gave me the option, I would sell dog food all day long, twice on Sunday, without exception, over the dog, right? Because one is recurring based, and the other is a one-time sale. To the point where, again, if your dog died, I would show up with another dog. He'd be very big and he'd be very hungry. And he would give you the dog so I could continue to sell you the dog food. But understanding that I would sell you the dog and then I would put you on the drip to sell you the dog food. But what I would also be doing with selling you the dog food, which is something hard, is I would be doing quarterly checkups, which is service, where I'd be coming in with a vet and we would take the dog, do all kinds of tests on the dog to make sure that they're healthy. Pretty obvious, right? Then we got to change their diet. We got to put them on supplements, blah, 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 blah. If you know how crazy passionate people are about their dogs, if you're listening to that going, would somebody actually go for that? The answer is a hard yes. And they will buy their dogs, the equivalent of supplements, etc. To put into their food, whatever. Hopefully you're getting that soft with hard. Service with product, but product and service. Like again, if I was going to build you a swimming pool, but then I wanted to service the swimming pool and sell you the chemicals and open and close your pool throughout the year, again with 100% certainty. Hopefully you know this, but which business would I rather be in? Building pools or servicing pools and selling the chemicals? And the answer is the back end recurring revenue all day long and twice on Sunday. Really what I would want to do is both. I'd give you the beer keg to sell you the beer. I'd give you the coffee maker in order to sell you the coffee, but I want to have a business based on that. Anyway, so helping your company become more product and also recurring revenue based or subscription based is something else I'd be throwing in there. Poor dream by night, wealthy dream by day. I think that might be obvious, but you might be having some really great idea. Ever had like an idea at like 10, 11, midnight? And then like in the morning, it's like a really bad idea, right? Which, by the way, the best way to, how to have a really, really good idea is to have lots of ideas, okay? But at the end of the day, make sure that you're also dreaming by day and not just allowing this to something to be by night. So I'm going to say the real wealthy, the uber wealthy dream by night and day, but it's during the day where I would bet that the iPod was dreamt up during the day. I would dreamt that the iPhone was dreamt up during the day. I would think that Uber was dreamt up during the day. Don't just dream by night. And if you don't slow down, you're not going to get that opportunity. Like, you ever notice when you go on holidays that you dream like way bigger, right? That's not unique to you. That's not unique to me. That is, you know what I mean? Semi-universal. Um, so the question is, when you meet a business owner and they say they haven't had a holiday in 3 years, is that a good idea? And I'm going to suggest absolutely not. And my question is, when's the last time that you went on holiday? And then was your goal to totally decompress and not think about your business? Which, by the way, unplugging is a really good idea. But shutting off your idea, what I call idea sex, right? Like not having idea sex while you're away, I would suggest that that's a really bad idea. So, making sure that you're doing that. Here's a quote that I wrote down. I think I've actually covered this on the podcast recently, but it's so good. I don't think I could ever say it enough. But never underestimate, this is Charlie Munger on Elon Musk. And again, I have this little file. This is like, I go to this file every day. So when I read it, this is very close to the top. And it's never underestimate a man that overestimates himself. I believe that successful business owner, there's a lot of delusion there. Again, like, making the NFL, making the NHL, being ranked number one in the world in tennis, being ranked number one in the world in golf, being ranked and, being a world-class cricketer and representing your country, et cetera, playing soccer, playing football for, England at the World Cup, and making, tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to do it. It's very, very unnatural. Building a business that stands the test of time. If you spent 2 minutes going through the statistics, you know what they are, and they are not in the average business owner's favor. So I'm going to suggest that overestimating yourself might be there's something I'm trying to there's characteristics of a successful business owner, and one of them is insecurity, but then it's also coupled with what I'm going to refer to as delusion, right? Like, again, let's call that overestimating yourself on steroids, which is a real interesting contradiction where you're insecure, but then you're over, you know what I mean? You're delusional in terms of what you could accomplish. It's a weird, really good mix, but again, very contradictory. I'm going to suggest that is something that you should try. And I believe that could become a skill, right? So maybe you're listening and you're like, yeah, but I didn't grow up with parents that were like super positive and they weren't entrepreneurs, or I wasn't in that environment, or I got started late. So is that really for me? Is that going to work? And I'm going to suggest that delusion could be a muscle. And your muscle might not be very strong, but what happens when you go to the gym every day for 365 days, right? What happens when you double? I always say, what happens when you double a penny for 31 days? You end up with $10 million. But the real magic happens 27, 28, 29, 30, and 31, right? Well, I think that your delusion muscle is something that can be built over time in a very real and tangible way. So I want to challenge you to do that. Maybe, and again, a year is going to be possibly too, you know what I mean? That's too much to get your head around. Why don't you just, sit down, pen, paper, and maybe what you could do is work on creating some outlandish, crazy, unachievable goals every single day, for 30 minutes. Don't spend all day doing this, right? But 30 minutes by yourself, dark room, pen, paper, and writing things that, are completely out of touch, that you could accomplish, that you could do, that would really, really impress your kids, impress your grandkids, and impress your spouse, impress you, really impress you. So I don't know. I think that there's magic in Charlie Munger's statement on Elon Musk, and that is never underestimate a man that overestimates himself. I think that is, and you might see that as a backhanded. I believe that that's a compliment. Again, I think I don't see Charlie Munger investing in Elon Musk and his companies, but I do think that is very much a compliment. So yeah, that's something that I got there. There's also, okay, product service. Sorry, I skipped over this. Your product/service, your client's product/service should be filling demand, not creating it. Okay, so I want you to picture two different motions. I want you to dig a hole. Just imagine this metaphorically, right? Or just close your eyes and think about this for a minute. You're digging a hole, and on the other side, so it took you X amount of time, okay? And now I want you to take 3 steps forwards, and now what you're going to do is you're going to fill a hole. Which one's easier? Which one's 10 times easier? Okay, filling the hole. If you really identify your ideal client, you don't have to sell hard because the right people will find you, right? It will find your clients. So what you've got to be doing is you need to be filling demand. What is it that they are looking for? What is the marketplace looking for? And from our, when we got going with profit acceleration software and that, again, coaches, good, like not the ones in the sandbox, leads. Like if I want to generate leads tomorrow for my company, I'll just put an ad out offering leads for coaches, right? And I will be semi-inundated. And if I do it if I put some effort and some money behind it, some manpower, I'll absolutely be inundated. But the problem is, in many cases, what you're doing is getting the sandbox folks, right? What you want to be doing is you want to be going to people who are, remember, if you want to have a great company, you want to have what? Great clients. So going to higher end business owners, going to people who have been successful in business, going to successful coaches and taking them from good to great, great to outstanding, outstanding to out of this world. But what they're trying to do is they are charging, let's just say hypothetically, $3,000 a month, 36 grand a year, and they're trying to find a way to get $5,000 a month, 60 grand a year, or 10 grand a month, 120 grand a year, and having a contingency in there. That's what they're trying to do. So this profit acceleration software. Notice it's not revenue acceleration software; it's profit acceleration software. Again, top line versus bottom line, huge error that business owners make right there. But we're trying to go to successful people and allowing them to elevate. One of the other ways we do it internally is that we've got successful clients and then we help them build a team of 10 coaches. Right? Like again, our high-end individuals, they love the idea of having a team of 10 coaches. Somebody who, think of that who I am, like when you're tipping, don't worry about what they do. Worry about who you are, right? When you are, you are really dialed in with who you are, your spirit, and you're kind of that person that would overestimate themselves. The idea of having 10 coaches underneath you is insanely attractive. Well, guess what? That's why we have the program. Anyway, so that's, I want you to think about filling a hole versus digging a hole. Similar conceptually, but effort, again, is like 10x harder for one. So think of like an 80-20, but remember 80-20. 80-20 is not 80-20. When you go 80-20 and then you go to the 20 and do 80-20 and then you go to the 20 and do 80-20 and you go to the 20 and do 80-20, you end up with 150, right? So what are those 1% clients? What are those 1% products? What are those 1% services? What are those 1% activities? What are those 1% productivity hacks? Again, I talked at the very beginning of this about there's the ultimate success hack is not a tactical, it's nothing tactical, it's nothing strategic. It's a way of thinking. My mentor all the time, stop and think, 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 stop and think. And at first, like I said, it got annoying, right? Where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking what are you, but now it's a muscle. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? I would like to think that I have strengthened that muscle over time by continually going and stopping and thinking and, pushing myself to think at a higher level. And I don't have it worked out to be very, very, it's not what I'm saying. But that being said, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I got it kind of worked out. Anyways, thinking about, filling a hole, when you identify your client's ideal, I want you to capitalize ideal, I want you to bold it, I want you to italicize it, your ideal client, you don't have to sell because they come and find you. I want you to think about that. I'll be on the phone consistently with somebody who says, whatever, but yada, yada, yada. I heard about this, that, the other, and I had to find you. Like we hear it all the time. So thinking about that, I'd also like to think we built something remarkable that people talk about, and that's certainly the goal. And I think some of those, so you hear about that, and I want you to think, but are you spending time? Is your coaching that good that your client talks about it? That's my question. Right. And if it's not, work on that versus lead generation. And you might find that you just experience that ultimate hack where it's a higher level of thinking. Yeah, so I got some other, I'm going to wind this up. I got one here. Okay, so Road Dog would have had a field day with this, but um, this is the guy, I can't remember his name, but he owns GoDaddy, or he certainly owned GoDaddy for a long period of time. He may or may not still own it, don't know. But anyways, his quote is, "You can't win a farting contest without shitting your pants." Not supposed to swear on this, whoops. But anyways, you can't, yeah, you can't win a farting contest without being willing to, you know, wet your underwear. So what does that mean? I don't know. Comfort, like again, you got to, comfort is your enemy, not failure, and fear of failure. It's fear of leaving your comfort zone. And I want to push you there. I'm just looking for something I want to talk. So Magic Johnson, I definitely sent this in an email. I might have said this in the podcast recently, but I think it's really good. Magic Johnson, back in the day, Magic Johnson is a billionaire. And what do they say about success? Success leaves clues. So I've got a couple of kids that I've, mentored, or, coached, whatever, that are playing the NHL, right? So they play in the NHL. And what I recently said to one of them, I said, man, look, again, what's the goal? Like, you're going to play in the NHL and you're going to make lots of money. What happens to most people that make millions of dollars in their 20s? What's the money look like in their 40s? And sometimes it looks amazing, but what does it look like? Let's go 80-20. What does it look like 80% of the time? And not real good. So one of the things I told him, I said, so a friend, one of my really, really, my best friends growing up, his dad owns a box. And I said to him, man, you know what you should be doing? You should be taking every one of the people who own private boxes and take him out to dinner. And by the way, should he do it after is he big news now while he's playing on the first line in the power play? Or is he big news when he retires? When do you think they're going to rather have dinner with him? And the answer is right now. So I said, take some time, and he should, not at the expense of his hockey career and, skating and practicing and all that stuff. Don't necessarily get out in left field, but it's absolutely something I would recommend. By the way, you probably know where, so what I'm going to say about Magic Johnson, and that is he took all of the front row ticket holders, which is effectively the same thing, the really, really expensive tickets, let's put it that way. He took them all out to lunch, and he did it individually. He didn't take them all at once. He took them individually. And moral of the story, learn to network, right? Like an absolute super hack of success is learning how to network, be with people that make you think at a higher level, act at a higher level, operate at a higher level. So learning to network. By the way, if you want to learn to network, one of the things you got to do is preparation for like 10 to 20 minutes prior to the event. And by the way, when I say networking, there's BNI. Okay, like that is the sandbox on steroids. In a lot of cases, that's just Lucy and Frank trying to avoid the work that they really should be doing. Okay, the failed realtor, the failed mortgage broker, and the failed financial planner are all hanging out together, and then they're all failing, so they feel comfortable around one another, right? They may, and that's harsh, maybe, but that's not where I'm going to encourage you to network. Maybe you're in the sandbox, and maybe that's where you got to start. But I'm going to the golf club. I'm going to the oil and gas club. I'm going to the old boy. I'm finding out where the old boys are hanging out, and I'm finding a way to get in there. And when I get in there, by the way, so networking, what's a really, really good way of sucking at networking? And that's be boring. right? You want to go in there, you know what I mean? Like you got to come with some energy. You got to come like, the most successful guys, the guy worth 10 million, the guy worth 100 million, the guy worth a billion. I'm telling you, these guys want, you know what I mean? Like they are, you know what I mean? They were once where you're at, or maybe you're already there, and then high five to you. But there's a good chance if you're looking to network with those individuals, maybe you're not already invited. When you get in there, look, they're looking for, people with, do they want to hang out with people with low energy or high energy? And the answer is obvious, right? High energy. Do they want to talk to people who are educational or not educational? The answer is educational. Do they want to hang out with people who are entertaining, or do they want to hang out with people that are not entertaining? Trust your instincts there. Entertaining. So my question is, when you go to that meeting, what's your level of energy? What's your level of education? And what's your level of entertainment? And by the way, preparation for 15 minutes might be practicing your story. It might be, like having a look at the list of people and then going to their LinkedIn profile, their personal Facebook page, their website, their About Us, and reading up a little bit about them. So when you go speak to them, but like if somebody's got no kids, you know what they don't want to hear? Hey, how many kids do you got? So if I knew that you didn't have kids, by doing a little bit of homework, I could avoid that question that could debatably, depending upon the dynamics around not having kids, might end the conversation, right? And then if they got 6 kids, I'm telling you, they want to talk about those kids, right? By the way, what are how old are your kids? You got any grandkids? If your kids graduate. By the way, and I might be able to work out if his kids, if one's a PhD and one's a doctor and one's a lawyer. Hey, this guy probably wants to talk about his kids. If the kids are all on drugs and not doing well, maybe he doesn't want to talk about them. I don't know. How could I establish that? I don't know that I'm going to be able to get granular or like really work it out. But by looking at your Facebook post, if you got 6 kids and I can't find a photo of a single one of them, that might tell me. I don't know, but maybe the guy wasn't want to talk about it. I don't know. I think I'm giving you a horrible example, but hopefully you're getting the idea, right? 3 things: energy, education, entertainment. Do a little bit of homework before you get there. When you go in there, not look. And okay, here's another thing though. And I can be, have been guilty of this at different times in my life and different dynamics and situations. But your greatest weakness is your greatest strength turned up too loud. Think about that. Your greatest weakness is your greatest strength turned up too loud. You're a really entertaining fella, and you show up to this meeting and like you're too entertaining and too over the top. Not a good idea. And you're a newbie, right? Like you're a first timer. Not a good idea. You know what I mean? And by the way, being able to navigate the dynamics of a room, which some people do naturally and some people don't, but with you know what I mean? By doing it a lot, you're going to get better at reading those rooms, and that's why, going to which I am horrifically guilty of this. I do not go to events, right? Like if it's not my event, I'm not going. That is not said in like a pompous, arrogant way. It's just the way, it's just, I guess, who I am. I'm just not. If I'm not on stage, I'm not going. Good, bad, indifferent. But that's just been my MO for the last 2 decades. I have been to a few events, by the way, but very, very, like, count them on definitely 2 hands and probably just one. That's full. I'm not suggesting you should be going to events. What you will find when you go to the events, the best bit, the speakers were great, the education was great. The real magic is, we hear this at our events, say like Business Coaching Mastery in Cancun. The real magic is around the bar or at breakfast, at lunch, at dinner, talking to the others that are, in the trenches doing what I'm doing. And that's where the real magic lives. The real magic lived in the networking. So that may or may not provide some value. But I can tell you this, that when you roll up to these meetings being boring, and by the way, and I'm, a bit of an outgoing person, sorry. So that might be, so you might go, yeah, but that's easy for you. But remember, it's your muscle. And by the way, remember, like, there's people that meet me with 100% certainty, are like, that guy's annoying, right? So you might be a little bit more laid back. So don't try. What am I trying to say? If you're like introverted, don't try to be extroverted. And you're extroverted, don't try to be introverted. Don't try to be someone you're not, right? When you're going to network and you want to have high level of energy, but that high level of energy for you and high level of energy for me are two different things, right? So a higher level of energy, higher level of education, higher level of entertainment. You know what I mean? If you're a little bit more subdued individual, then just play it that way. Maybe you're going to go a little bit deeper the way your superpower is going deep quick. Okay, well, then do that, because that's not boring. Remember, what you got to avoid is, not being remembered. Really, that's lame. So anyways, hopefully, I don't know, I'm doing the greatest job of all time of explaining that, but energy, education, and the ability to be entertaining, very important whilst networking. So there you go. So I think going to events, maybe there's some value for you, and maybe we're going to be doing more events in the future that you could come to. You heard it here first. Anyways, look, folks, I appreciate it. We're missing the road dog. Hope his wrist is all right. We'll get an update. Hopefully he's doing good, but I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you listening in, and look after yourself, and we'll speak to you next week. Bye-bye.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.